Good day, and today I will discussing the novel about the curious incident of the dog in the nighttime. The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Haddon. Autism is a developmental disability caused by differences in the brain. People with autism often have problems with social communication and interaction, and restricted or repetitive behaviors or interests. People with ASD may also have different ways of learning, moving, or paying attention. Background knowledge. Typical ASD behaviors include stereotype action, hand flapping, body rocking, insistence of sameness, resistance to change, and in some cases, aggression or self-injury. Between 30 to 50% of people with autism have seizures. Autism was originally believed to be form of schizophrenia brought on by a traumatic experience or bad parenting. This is not the case as scientific studies have proven. Many people do not understand that autism cannot be treated. In a world where differences can be a source of conflict or ridicule, there is a need to be more understanding and open to people's differences. In the novel The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, Christopher Bone, a brilliant teenage boy with autism, sets out to solve the murder of his neighbor's dog, written by Mark Haddon and published in 2003. The book has become a prize-winning bestseller translated into 3 dozen languages, already considered a classic. The work has been adapted as a stage play and is performed internationally. The author, Mark Haddon, is a recognized name in the contemporary English literature. His talent not only involves novel writing but extends to poetry writing, illustration, and abstract painting. His major contribution to literature includes an adult novel, The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. Haddon wrote his first adult mystery, entitled The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, published in 2003. It is titled after a quote from Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes story Silver Blaze. Mark Haddon was born in Northampton in 1962. He graduated from Oxford University in 1981, returning later to the study for an MSc in English Literature at Edinburgh University. He then undertook a variety of jobs, including work with children and adults with mental and physical disabilities. He also worked as an illustrator for magazines and a cartoonist for New Statesman, The Spectator, Private Eye, The Sunday Telegraph, and The Guardian, for which he co-wrote a cartoon strip. In 2003, his novel, The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, was published and has been hugely successful. It is the first book to have been published simultaneously in 2 imprints, one for children and one for adults. It is won a string of prestigious awards, including the 2003 Whitbread Book of the Year. Characters of the story: Christopher Bone, Ed Bone, Judy Boone, Siobhan, Mr. Roger Shears, Mrs. Shears. Here's the summary of the curious incident of the dog in the nighttime. 15-year-old Christopher Bone, out walking in Sweden, England, the neighborhood late. One night, Christopher Bone finds his neighbor's dog dead in her front yard, with a pitchfork sticking out of it. Christopher wonders who killed it, and decides to write a book in which he tries to figure out, like a murder mystery novel. Christopher's neighbor, Mrs. Shears, finds him with her now dead dog. Mrs. Shears calls a police, and Christopher has to spend a few hours in a jail cell. Eventually, his father comes to get him and tells Christopher to not investigate the dog's death any further. So in response, Christopher thinks of all kinds of ways to interpret his father's demand as specifically as possible so he can still do all his detective work while somehow not disobeying him. He starts asking around the neighborhood to see if anyone knows anything about the dog's death. He decides that since Mr. Shears left his wife 2 years ago, perhaps he hates her and killed her dog to make her sad. When Christopher's father finds out he's been asking people about the dog, he makes him promise he'll stop. Again, Christopher promises. So of course, Christopher continues talking to one of his neighbors, Shoban, who tells him that his mother and Mr. Shears were having an affair before he left Mrs. Shears. That's bad news, but Christopher tells her that his mother died 2 years ago of a heart attack. Christopher's father finds the detective book Christopher has been writing, in which he's recorded everything that has happened so far. He's really mad about it and takes the book away. A few days later, Christopher searches the house for the book and finds it hidden in his father's bedroom. But here's the kicker. He also finds a big stack of letters addressed to him from his mother. He reads a few of them and discovers that her mother is still alive. His father had been lying to him this whole time. His father apologized for lying and also admits that he was the one who killed Mrs. Shears' dog. As it turns out, he has feelings for Mrs. Shears and was mad that she didn't want to be with him. Christopher decides that living with his father is no longer such a great or safe idea. He is a dog killer after all and thinks it's best to move on London and live with her mother. Problem is, he's never gone anywhere by himself before and has difficulty being in busy places and around large groups of people. The journey is, as we might then expect, incredibly challenging. First, after he runs away, his father enlists the police to try to find him. He manages to escape anyway, but then he's totally overwhelmed, being on his own like this. He repeatedly vomits and passes out and just feels horribly sick. Hours and hours later, he arrives at his mother's apartment in London. She's living with none other than Mr. Shears. Christopher tells her that his father said she was dead, and she's horrified to learn this. When Christopher's fathers come to find him, she demands he leave and insists that poor Christopher can live with her. But Christopher is afraid of Mr. Shears and is quite eager to go back home to take an important exam that will help him get into university. After about a week, he and his mom go back home and Christopher takes the exam, even though he can't think straight after not eating or sleeping for days on end. His mother gets a job and not so nice apartment, which Christopher hates. Meanwhile, his father tries very hard to earn back his trust. He buys him a puppy and Christopher begins spending some time at his house. He receives the exam results and finds out that he got the best possible score, having successfully traveled to London on his own and solved the mystery of who killed the dog. He's sure he can do anything. Who killed the dog? Ed is the suspect. Ed killed that dog because Mrs. Shears rejected him. How does Siobhan help Christopher? Christopher talked to her about his problems and she reads the notebook in which Christopher record his stories. She is very encouraging and gives him advice about what he should and shouldn't do. There are three main themes of the story, which is the family, honesty, trust.